This is a response to 3Clicks Philip video titled CSGO's Clever Strategies versus Bad People. First off, I just want to say I fully agree with your sentiment about Overwatch. I think it can only be a positive for the community. The issue I have with your video revolves around your opinions on trust factor and the flawed perspective you view it from. As you said in your video, you have a good trust factor, and I'm happy that the system is working for you, but that doesn't implicitly mean it's functioning for everyone. There are two groups of people that I want to talk about in this response that trust factor actually hurts. Players like me, who had an okay trust factor, and brand new players. So let's start with brand new players. For me, Steam was the third game I ever bought. For a lot of people, myself included, CSGO was like the first game you ever played. For me, it was CSGO. For others, it was 1.6 or Source. So if trust factor was implemented back then, and your very first Steam purchase is Counter-Strike, the first experience you're ever going to get is DM or casual. DM isn't too bad, but casual is actually the worst fucking thing in existence. I'm sure that can be pretty easily agreed on. So once you've grinded to get profile rank 3, it's time for you to play some competitive. And because trust factor and prime exist, brand new players' very first CX experience is non-prime minimum trust factor matchmaking. Smurfs, cheaters, throwers. That's the very first experience that brand new players are going to have, which is going to actively disincentivize them from playing the game more. If the very first time I booted up Counter-Strike and jumped into a competitive, the first thing that happened to me is I got my head banged off by a spin botter, I'm not sure I would have continued playing Counter-Strike for the like 6,000 hours or however much I've put into it. And that's just how it is. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it functions. The system is designed for a current community of players and hurts new players. So player growth is disincentivized while player retention is incentivized, which is interesting, and it's a strategy that they can go for, but I don't know if it's conducive for a long-term strategy necessarily, because there's just not going to be much player growth. The other subset of players that I want to talk about are players that had an okay trust factor when it was first implemented. So my trust factor wasn't that great when it was introduced. It wasn't awful, but it was what it was. It was average, probably. But it's only gone downhill since then. I'm not a toxic person. I don't TK. I don't abandon matches. And I don't flame my teammates. The reason my trust factor has gotten so much worse, though, is because trust factor counts reports without convictions towards a person's trust factor score, which is a hysterically flawed idea. Because obviously, when it works, it can work for some players that are cheating just enough that some people are reporting them, but not everyone is, and that's going to hurt their trust factor. But what about a good player who's a fucking saint in game and just has a good game? So his trust factor gets hurt just because he fragged well? To me, that seems like a really flawed system. So then imagine if your trust factor is already okay, and then you get reported, then your trust factor falls again. And then because MM so heavily favors trust factor when finding a match rather than actual rank, okay, look, that's going to seem like a bold claim. So before I move on the screen for the rest of this video, I'm just going to show screen caps of my scoreboards, which have hysterically broken ranks. And in all of them, I think the rank range is MGE to LEM, and I'm always solo queued unless it says otherwise. And when I am not solo queued, I'm always queued with someone of a higher rank, of a higher trust factor. So because I'm getting matched against significantly worse players, it's understandable if fairly often they think I'm cheating. That's just how it goes. If a silver thinks that I'm cheating while I'm LEM, that's completely understandable. So they hit me with a report, and that's the end of it. Because of that report, my trust factor goes down, And because my trust factor goes down, I get matched versus worse, more broken ranks. Those ranks report me, so my trust score goes down again. Rinse, repeat. That, if that isn't horribly busted, I don't know what is. Because through absolutely no fault of my own, no matter how positive I'm being to my teammates, no matter what I'm doing, just because Valve is essentially endorsing me smurfing, my trust factor is falling. That's a horrible system that only hurts players. It hurts the new players who I'm getting matched against, and it's hurting me because I'm getting my trust factor is still falling, and I'm not getting the CS experience that I want. I don't want to be stomping a 4Q of Gold Novas 16-1. I want to be playing an entire game of my rank and winning 16-14 or losing 16-14. That's a good game. That's how Counter-Strike should be. But instead, like, half of my games are just stomps one way or the other because the ranks are just so broken. It's not fun. It's not what Counter-Strike should be. Okay. And my final issue with the video is basically just the way you talk about trust factor. And it's a much more minor issue. But basically, I think you give the system too much credit. Trust factor has absolutely no way of getting a player who is good, but just constantly berates their teammates and is just a horribly toxic person. It has no way of getting the player that calls out his teammate's location in chat, which you see reasonably often. The only kind of toxicity trust factor gets is blatant throwers, people that team kill and AFK and block teammates. It doesn't affect the people that you see that are just calling people the N-word, saying they're gonna rape your sister. Like, fuck. That person and somebody who's saying, hey, great job, man, nice round. Those two people are held in the exact same esteem by trust factor, even though they are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. I probably have more to say, but I can't think of it now. If there's any more screenshots to show, they'll just keep going until the video ends. Obviously, this is a sensitive subject for me, so I'm very heated about it. I'm sorry if I came off as angry, which I am. I hate Counter-Strike. I don't know why I play this godforsaken game, but I still have like 6,000 hours in it. It's an abusive relationship, I swear to God. Anyway, I'll see ya.